Welcome to our very first Tech Talk in Montreal. It's been an honor to be here and to present this talk to you. I just did like a short version of a training I used to give for the clients I work with, for the teams and so on. I'll try to explain a little bit what DevOps practices are, okay, and how they might help some companies, okay? I'm Marcel, I'm a senior consultant and DevOps practice lead for Pareto Code. I have some experience in media, telecommunications, retailers, financial sectors. I've been developing software for the last 15 years. 10 years I've been working with Agile-related methodologies. About 8 years ago, I started practicing DevOps, and I've been playing guitar for the last 25 years, okay? And we will talk a little bit about some history on Agile and DevOps. I think it's quite interesting to understand the origins of the methodologies and the practices that we've been working with currently. I will try to explain some difference in how Waterfall and Agile methodology relates. We'll talk about DevOps practice and the DevOps in digital transformation, okay? So, let's start from the beginning. I have a timeline here, just for us to understand a little bit how our industry has evolved, especially regarding how to handle the process of work and the delivery cycles. Can start with the Toyota production system. After the World War II, Japan has received a lot of incentives from Americans to rebuild the economy, the industries, and so on. Toyota, before the war, they used to manufacturing fabrics, and this about 1930s. And one thing that they did in the fabric factory was change a little bit or improve removing the waste of the production systems before the war. And they did this by putting a lamp in the fabric machines, because before that they had one person per machine just waiting the fabric line, the cotton line to broke, so they can go there, fix it, the machine starts to work again. So they realized, okay, if I build up some mechanisms, this back in 1930, that will light up a lamp in case a line breaks, I don't need one person per machine, I can have one person per room with 20 machines, because a line doesn't break too often, and the guy was just standing there waiting for it. So that's the basis, an example of the principle of removing waste in a production systems. After the war, Toyota became Toyota, as the American says, and they started to build cars. And they inherited a lot from Ford and other car manufacturing companies from America, and they started to introduce that same principle of trying to remove waste in the production system into the car manufacturing. And that was not just about removing waste, but to learn along the process and improve the process as it goes, reaching a highest possible quality and improving from there. That's the base of the concepts in behind the Toyota production systems. This was developed between 56 and 70s, and has been released as a paper in 1990 from Harvard, in a book that describes the lean manufacturing model introduced by Toyota. The book is called The Machine That Changed the World. That's a big milestone for both Agile and DevOps. Okay, because it comprises a lot of principles about how to get more efficiency while keeping the highest quality possible. Around 70, our industry, which born after the war, was still inheriting a lot of concepts from modern engineering sites. And one of the things that we inherited was our project management model, and which has been described in 1967 as the waterfall model in a paper also from published by Harvard as well. where they described different types of management models for projects back in 67, 65, 60s. And waterfall model was one of them, okay? Our industry evolved through the years, and about 90s, 95, a lot of frameworks trying to advocate for different ways to manage a product, manage a software delivered, started to emerge. And by 2001, we have the release of Agile Manifesto. In 2007, this guy, Patrick Debois, he is a consultant. He was a consultant who had lucky to go through a lot of different areas inside IT. And in 2007, he was working in a migration, a data center migration for Belgian government. And he was responsible for the infrastructure. And he was trying to stabilize the environment while the software delivery cycle following agile methodologies for the development teams were bringing new changes into production. So he couldn't stabilize that for months. Because when he was reaching a point, okay, it's fine, the environment, it's fine, it's everything working, a new change come along, and he needs to redo everything. So he felt a lot of pain. And he had some discussions with other consultants, starting from the Toronto Agile Conference 2008. He met Andrew Sheffer. They started to talk about. They realized that other people around the world were facing the same struggles. So they started to organize small events, and they call it these small events DevOps Day. And they started to talk using Instagram with a hashtag DevOps. And this hashtag was like one of the trend topics for 2010. And we can see that a movement inside our industry started to emerge from that trending topic, DevOps. And it reshaped the way the vendors start to advertise their tools for better, to reach a better quality, to reach efficiency, or to reach, to remove waste in the production systems. Okay, and in 2013 we have the Phoenix Project book published by Jimmy Kim. It's a very interesting book. You don't feel like you reading a technology book, and you can feel the pain of a system like working with agile development team. Well, to reach the DevOps, I'll start talking about waterfall, because that's about 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, okay? The waterfall model has become a standard in our industry for decades. And it's comprised of a set of stages that can aim to bring an idea into a delivery, okay? And it has some principles, like every stage finishes after the completion of the previous one. And it needs the output from the previous as an input to the next one. And the objective here is to invest more time and effort on the previous stages so we can realize what we will deliver at the end, and then we will avoid waste from the development stage ahead, because we planned everything, so we'll have no surprises. That's great, a great idea, and it has been proven successfully. Forever we could keep on playing. Okay, so if we have a project, a predefined output, waterfall model does work. Okay, like building a house, we need to plan ahead as most as we can, but we will not decide, okay, let's put another floor here in my house after I finish everything. This doesn't happen too often. I start a construction for a 10-floor building, and by the 5th floor, I decide let's put more 10 and reach 20 floors. We don't do that. So the waterfall model sort of works better for this. Now, in 90s, there was something very interesting happening in the world. We were starting to get into the information age, which started about 2000s. And this happens because of the internet. About 1995, the internet started to spread around the world, so we started to have more users. The companies also started to use more information systems, so we have more users. When we have more users, the users start to ask new stuff, new features, something that can have more value to them. And then the waterfall model starts to fail for software development. And this is not me saying. We have the Standard Group, which is a British institute who does research in our market for many decades. And in 1994, we had a third, almost a third of the projects evaluated, and that's like thousands of projects they evaluated, were failed. They were decommissioned or not taken into production because they just give up on the project. 53% of the project were considered challenging. That means that they spent more, they took more time, or the scope has changed during the project. Okay, and 96 we had an increase of the failure, and about 98 the failure start to decrease. Okay, but you see, our industry was starting to learn how to cope with this new scenario where we have more users requesting new features. And the projects were planned ahead. We started to build big projects that takes like 1 year to be ready to go into production. And by the time it's supposed to be delivered to the users, it didn't make sense anymore because the things started to change more often. Okay, and this is from 2013 CAUS report. The 90s CAUS reports, it's very similar. They started to research the feature usage. On the features included in a software, how often they are really used by the users. Okay, and they saw that 20% only of the features included in most of software projects, they are used always and often. That means 80% doesn't produce much value. But sometimes, and most of the times, we are putting a lot of money and effort on the 80%. Okay, and that's very interesting because that's all about research on software development. But this is very similar to the Pareto Principle. Pareto Principle, this guy, Wilfredo Pareto, he was an economist. He wrote an article back in 1890-something, stating that 20% of all efforts is responsible for 80% of the output, of the desirable value. So if we found what is the most important 20%, we should focus our investments, our efforts on that, because that will produce the most of value. By 2001, 17 professionals, consultants, leaders, directors, managers, so on, they gathered, so they came up on the first morning with this. That's the Agile Manifesto, the values of Agile Manifesto. Basically, they are stating that what that professionals have in common is that they were looking for the 20%, where individuals and interactions over process and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change rather than following a plan. It doesn't mean that they don't see value in all the other factors. They only see that this is the most important. Okay, so in an agile project, we do have documentation, but not so comprehensive because we don't put a lot of effort on that. But we recognize that in the future, someone else will come to the project and they need to know what goes on. So we do have documentation. We do have contract negotiation. We do follow plans, but we focus most on the other items. Okay, Agile is a methodology which is more empirical. It follows the concept that we have an assumption on what our client needs. So instead of putting all our money on an assumption, let's put the smallest amount possible to build a working prototype of that idea and validates observe if the user really wants that or not. Let's prove if our assumption is true or not. And we will do that by, instead of following a very long period of planning, we will plan as fast as we can, the smaller amount, we bring it to the market, and we experiment that. If our experiments show us a tendency of truth, we put some more money, we keep evolving. And we have a lot of samples nowadays about this type of mindset. Facebook, when it started, it was only the face and the names of the people in the college. Nowadays, we have a lot of features in there. And some of them were deprecated through the years, isn't it? Because they went live. After a few years, they lost relevance, so they removed it. Spotify, Netflix, all these digital business who were born after Agile and so on, they were very much influenced by these concepts. And they followed this strictly, and you can see the success that they've been through by investing in trying to find what the users really want, instead of investing time and money in an assumption, okay? So, Agile success criteria, instead of if I follow the plan or not, is how much value I deliver, okay? And it works better for products, evolving ideas, innovation, and undetailed output. If I'm not really sure what I want to get by the end of my project, Agile is a better methodology to follow. Okay, so the difference between the two: success criteria of Waterfall, on plan; success criteria on Agile, value delivery. Waterfall is a defined model, while Agile is more empirical. Okay, now for 2015 COWS report, we have good numbers for Agile over Waterfall. Successful projects, 39% on Agile, while Waterfall we had 11% in overall. And what DevOps has to do with this? Agile focus to find the 20% most important on the communication between the business department and the IT department, the development team. And after a few years, then we had a scenario. We work together. We have now a product-driven mindset. We have a progressive budget. We have value generation as a success criteria, incremental and more frequent releases. The development teams are committed to smaller, feasible, and prioritized plan for a short release cycle. And there are autonomous teams now, comprising all necessary roles to deliver the product. You see how big was this change in the software delivery process? And that was amazing. They got it. But autonomous teams comprising of all necessary roles to deliver a product, that's what they meant. But that was not what was happening, because they were focused on the business and development teams. Okay, they forgot about the system administrators, the ops teams inside an IT. And that was huge. You see, there was a system admin just thinking, oh, did you just say more frequent releases? Because that was painful. That was so painful for them, you know? Why? Because when we had Waterfall, and was handling Waterfall, we were building a big project that would last for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. And this IT operations will receive that full release, that big chunk, 1 year after. So they have time to prepare. That's like an atomic bomb coming into my country. So I build my defenses. I have time to work on that. Okay. Then this guy came up with Agile, empirical process. Oh, everybody happy, but I'm not, because instead of that big atomic bomb, I'm getting a grenade. Every 2 weeks, they are trying to deliver to production. And I am the responsible for keeping stability. How do I keep stability of something? Don't change it. If it's working, don't change it. So this guy are bringing changes into production every 2 weeks. Come on, atomic bomb kills, but a grenade hurts a lot, you know? And that's basically the conflict that emerged from Agile in the first decade. Okay, they were very, very successful on software and business relationship, but they forgot about the sysadmin. Then that's why the people started to analyze Agile better and see what is missing in that. There are 5 principles of Agile that are all about DevOps. Okay, our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software, deliverable to the customer. So if the IT operations is not involved, how can I deliver to the customer? If people are thinking about delivering to the IT ops, that's against the principle. Okay, so we need to bring the IT operations together. Deliver working software frequently from a couple of weeks to a couple of months, so if a preference to the shorter time scale. DevOps advocates for as many releases as necessary per day. We need to enable that. Okay, business people and developers must work together daily through the project. DevOps states that everybody should be involved, especially the IT ops. Okay, working software is the primary measure of progress. Working software not in developer's machine, isn't it? Working software to the customer. Okay, and the best architectural requirements is designed and managed for self-organizing teams. Okay, that sounds great, but if I don't have the IT guy, the system admin, the infrastructure guy involved in my project, how can I come up with the best architecture if I'm not considering their vision? Okay, so everybody should be joining the team. Of course, Agile nowadays considers a lot of the infrastructure as well. This is more like in the beginning. So in 2000, about 2010 and so on, what the community has brought up into the table was a set of stages that are not like sequenced as waterfall. It's interactive, that describe the relationship of our software delivery lifecycle, including the IT operations teams. So we are not building for the IT operations teams anymore. We are building for the customer. And then we have the plan, code, build, test, release, deploy, operate, measure, which are stages of the what people used to show as a DevOps logo or sign, which are basically a set of steps in a process flow, which describes these relationships. But the ops department joins the development teams from the early stages, even in the plan, now influencing the stakeholders to take decisions based on metrics, on evidence that the IT ops are the only one capable to collect from the production, from the end customer, because they are facing the customer, isn't it? So what is DevOps? Okay, there's a lot of definitions around. A lot of people used to say, oh, it's that guy in my team that does that pipelines. They write some codes, they use Amazon and rig up some machines. The guy is not DevOps. Okay, DevOps is a movement. DevOps is a set of ideas. Okay, so it's a mindset. Our methodologies are tools that all together works as a set of practice aimed to improve quality, reliability, efficiency on IT services delivery. Okay, IT service delivery. Remember that the DevOps is not a role, one guy. It's something that happens when we in the intersection of the development teams, the IT operations teams, and the quality assurance teams. Without at least these 3 areas, the DevOps doesn't exist. Okay, so the developer needs to start working on its source code, thinking about the IT operations, and contacting, communicating with IT operations to check, to validate all the assumptions that he is doing when he's implementing. Okay, will this work in production? Not really sure. Usually the developer just want to follow its guts and say, this will work. But DevOps say, calm down, take the phone, call to the other guy, ask him. Maybe he will recommend a solution that you will not like, but is the one that works in production. Otherwise, you need to convince him to plan for change in the future. But at least you have the communication. Quality. It doesn't matter if I am the fastest possible team to deliver products, but those products just have bad quality. Okay, so quality is paramount to DevOps. Okay, we try to accelerate the pace of development, but keeping the quality as high as possible. And increasing the quality, sometimes decreasing the speed, but increasing the quality if necessary. Okay? There is one framework which we follow when we try to assess and evaluate the maturity of a company to see where we should, from where we should start and what is the 20% we need to focus on when taking a company from a waterfall model or agile only model into a DevOps collaboration concepts, okay? Culture. So culture is a strategy for breakfast. That's from Peter Drucker, isn't it? So doesn't matter my plan, doesn't matter my all my assumptions, all the effort that I put on changing people. If they don't change the culture, these will fall apart. Automation. Humans are terrible on doing repetitive tasks. We are terrible. You know, just take a piece of paper and keep, folding it, and for 1 hour, and you'll be very, very bored. So what we do, every repetitive task, we transfer to machines. We do automations. And then the humans keep doing what they are best of, making decisions. Okay? Lean, that's the principles from Toyota manufacturing system. So keep it lean. Let's avoid waste. Let's increase the quality. Let's stop the company, if necessary, in order to fix a problem in production as fast as we can, because our quality cannot be compromised. Okay? Measure. We get what you measure. Okay? So we keep measuring things in production. We measure how our customer behavior, not how he interacts with our system, so that we can find out our next 20 more important percentage of stuff to be done. And the last but not least important, the sharing. This thing that we are doing right here, this meeting, it's part of the sharing pillar of DevOps. We need to share knowledge as much as we can. But I mentioned IT services delivery. So a lot of people in the clients start asking, oh, are you talking about ITSM and enterprise architecture? Yes, I do. Because ITSM and enterprise architecture can influence or be influenced by DevOps practice. Okay? And I'll give you some samples. On ITSM, some process, some services, like the project management services. What is project management services? Basically, software delivery in ITSM. Okay, that's highly impacted by DevOps practice. Then you have change management, incident management, problem management, knowledge management. All of those items or services are highly impacted by DevOps. On enterprise architecture, we have the solution architecture, technology architecture. The solution architecture is highly impacted because the solution architecture needs to come up with innovation more often, okay? And technology architecture, which is responsible for POCs or for acquiring new technology, deciding on platforms or technology to be adopted by an enterprise, it needs to shorten its cycles in order to make long-term decisions, but do not prevent the innovation from happening inside the company. Okay. Now, okay, so I'm convinced that it looks good. How can I start practicing DevOps? Okay, there is a book called DevOps Handbook, which brings us 3 ways, in fact, 3 stages of maturity where the companies start to work with DevOps-related practice. The first way, which is the first stage, it's building the systems thinking, okay? It's bringing the development teams, which now communicates better with business departments, closer to the ops teams, which is more focused to the customer. They want to keep stability. They want to keep the things working. They are facing the customer directly. Okay, so how can we build a bridge between those? There are some practices like CI/CD. I will talk a little bit about them in a minute. The second way, we amplify the feedback loop. That means that I established the communication between dev and ops. I brought operations department to my planning, to my software development teams. And then in the second stage, I start to ask for ops teams, hey, bring me that report about how this software is being used by our customer in production to our next planning, so we can decide better or prioritize the items that the business departments are bringing. So what I'm doing is basically creating a feedback loop. I had an idea, I developed the idea, I delivered the idea in partnership with the ops department to the end customers. Now the ops team goes there and collect evidence about how the customer is using. What is most important for the user? Have that really made some difference for them or not? Then I bring that as a feedback for my next plan, my next cycle, okay? And the third way, when the company reaches a higher maturity level, we have a culture of continuous experimentation and learning. So when we reach that stage, we see a lot of research and development, a lot of innovation within the company, because the company has already reached the highest quality with the highest pace of deliveries, and they are confident enough to take some money on the budget and just park for innovation. Oh, I heard there is a framework emerging the other side of the world. Okay, let's give it a try for 2 weeks and see if it works. Let's put as a beta feature for our customers, see if they like it or not. You see, because we had all the communication, we had the feedback loop, and the culture was shaped towards that, the people started to allow themselves to make experimentation, and then the innovation started to emerge. Okay, so an example of starting the first and second way, that means building that bridge, is CI/CD. Okay, CI/CD is a practice that aims to bring the communication between dev and ops teams. At the same time, it increases the reliability and the pace of deliveries. Okay, CI/CD stands for continuous integrations, the CI, and CD, continuous delivery and continuous deployment. There is a difference between the two. Okay, continuous integration means a developer will write some code, and he will push that code, will store that source code in somewhere where it's available to all the team members. But during the process of merging source code from different people, sometimes it breaks. And the CI is the practice of putting the source code together, the changes from everybody in the teams on the same place, and then trying to build an application out of it and see if it works. Okay, so if I change one line of code, I need to validate it that my change can still produce a working software. Okay, that's CI. Then continuous delivery is the practice of taking that build from the CI and installing it in someone's computer, a server, and I keep deploying it or installing this software in different environments until I reach closest to the point to release to the end user. And that repetition through every environment will allow me to exercise some quality assurance practice, like testing everything, testing pieces, testing the performance without affecting my customer. And then I build a confidence like a 95%, a 92%, the highest possible confidence that if I take that software and deploy it to my production environment, it will work. then I don't have any more a grenade coming to production, to the ops side. Because during that process, the ops and the devs had to work together to build that confidence. So get the application to production is more a matter of the right timing, or for the business, or maybe for the IT department itself. Okay, let's do it on Monday, 3 p.m. Okay, so the continuous delivery, we build the confidence, we reach a point where, okay, we're good to go, let's wait for someone to approve and see what is the best time to put in production. On continuous deployment, on the other side, everything happens, but we don't wait anymore. We, based on the evidence we collect from the tests in previous environments, an automation take the decision and deploy that to the end user automatically without any human intervention. That's continuous deployment. Okay, so 3 practices that are using very, very often, okay, in our marketing nowadays, and that's all about building that bridge. Okay, I'll skip that because it's too much detail. Then to the third way, when you have the experimentation, this doesn't work anymore. Okay, that's the scenario that brought us to DevOps. Okay, it's working fine in Dev. Ops problem now. So what should I do to have a continuous experimentation and learning mindset? First of all, I need to stop blaming someone from any mistakes. Working on some companies, and my director comes into the room and say, just heard from the CEO that our application is breaking in production. What happens? And usually you see people like this, isn't it? Everybody hides from higher management asking what's happening, okay? Because no one's gonna be the one to blame, okay? But in a maturity, but DevOps maturity model, when we are more mature, we don't care about if I am to blame or not. The people are thinking about how can I solve the situation. I might not be able to fix anything if I'm not able to find out or realize what happened in the first place. If it is a human error, that's fine, as long as I realize that. Because if I don't find out what really happened in production, what led us to that incident, then it will happen again. Doesn't matter what I do to fix it right now, it will happen again because I don't know what happens, okay? So when we reach the third way, the company usually is also exercising the blameless culture. So if I make a mistake, I will jump in and say, hey, I just made a mess. And someone will come and will help. And then later we'll try to figure out what was the root cause of every incident. It's interesting because when we do that exercise, the greatest majority of human errors, in fact, are not human errors. They are process errors. Why did you make this mess? Oh, I was tired, sorry. Why were you tired? Oh, I had to work, come here to help someone at 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh, really? So the problem was that he made a mistake because he was tired, because someone called him in the night to fix a problem. So the guy that works in the morning should be rest. If he works in the night shift, he should go to home. So I change my process. This will not happen again. Or at least I will mitigate this same situation. Otherwise, I will just keep firing people, hiring new one, and the same problem will always repeat. Okay, that's blameless culture.